Hey everybody, Will here from O'Reilly Auto Parts to show you how to remove and replace a fuel pump or fuel pump assembly. Today, we'll be removing and replacing the fuel pump on a 2006 Toyota Camry, but procedures will vary, so be sure to know the specifics for your vehicle before getting started. Once you've got your supplies together, here's what you'll do. It's important to keep everything clean during the process of fuel pump replacement. Contaminants like dirt and debris, rust, or scale are the primary cause of fuel pump failure. Premature failure because of contaminants can void your pump warranty. Park on a level surface and open the hood. Disconnect the negative battery cable and set it aside. Depending on your vehicle, you'll either need to find an access port to your fuel pump or drop your fuel tank for access. We'll gain access to the fuel pump in our Camry by removing the bottom cushion of the back seat. In some cases, especially if your fuel tank is metal and has begun to rust or developed corrosion or scale, the tank itself needs to be replaced along with the fuel pump. If your tank is plastic, whether you're dropping it to replace the fuel pump or not, it's essential to wipe it out as thoroughly as possible with a lint-free cloth. This may require the tank to be drained, and in some cases removed, to ensure that all contaminants are removed from the tank. Once you've found access to the fuel pump, use a pry bar to dislodge the cover. Press in the tab on the side of the wiring harness connector to disengage it. We'll remove this cover from the harness and set it to the side to make sure the adhesive doesn't stick to any upholstery and make it a little easier to work around. Use a vacuum with an appropriate attachment to remove any dirt and debris around the opening to the fuel pump assembly. Remove the fasteners around the top of the fuel pump. Depending on the type of fuel pump or vehicle you're working on, it may be held by a sealing ring or other type of retainer instead. With the fasteners removed, use a flathead screwdriver to push out on the tabs that hold the plastic safety clip in place and slide it off the hose fitting. Pull up on the hose fitting to disengage it from the port on top of the pump. Wrap a shop towel or rag around the hose fitting to catch any excess fuel. Tuck the hose to the side, away from the fuel pump. Carefully lift the fuel pump assembly up out of the port. It's a good idea to let the fuel pump sit for a few seconds to let any excess fuel drain before lifting it out. If you're replacing the assembly as a whole, lift it away and compare it with your new one to make sure you have the right replacement part. If you're replacing the fuel pump itself from inside the assembly, move the assembly to a bench where you can work. We chose to demonstrate this procedure on a more common fuel pump assembly design than what was found in our Camry, but the steps for each vehicle may be slightly different. Be sure to locate the service procedure for your specific vehicle before making this repair. For most vehicles, you'll need to disconnect the fuel pump harness connector, and in some cases, removing the float may provide more room to work. In our case, the pump is held in place with hose clamps, but it may also utilize clips or quick disconnects, depending on the application. You'll also need to remove the strainer from the bottom of the fuel pump. It's always recommended that if the fuel pump is being replaced, that a new strainer also be installed. This helps ensure that the fuel entering the new pump is filtered so any tank sediment or contaminants don't damage or shorten the lifespan of the fuel pump, and also reduces the risk of clogs that could cause fuel starvation. Disconnect the fuel line or hose from the fuel pump. Once the harness, fuel line, and strainer are disconnected, the fuel pump should be able to be removed from the assembly. Then you can remove the pump insulator and grommet or spacer, if equipped, to be reused in your new fuel pump installation. Compare your new pump with the old one to make sure you have the right replacement. Reinstall the fuel pump insulator and grommet or other hardware onto the new pump if needed. Then move your new pump into place. Now reconnect the fuel hose or line to the pump. If the hose seems especially brittle or the clamps are corroded or damaged, it may be best to replace these items during your fuel pump service. Install your new strainer. These typically press in and click to secure them. Now you can plug in your fuel pump wiring harness, ensuring it's secure. Check to make sure everything is seated properly and your fuel pump assembly is ready to be reinstalled. Before reinstalling, it's essential to make sure your fuel tank is clean. Again, contaminants are likely to cause premature pump failure and void the pump warranty. If a metal tank has started to rust or has built up rust scale, it needs to be replaced. If a plastic tank has contaminants in it that can't be removed, or if the tank or liner is damaged, cracked, or otherwise prone to leaks, it needs to be replaced. Depending on the access you have, you may be able to drain a plastic tank and wipe it out thoroughly with a lint-free cloth. Your local O'Reilly Auto Parts store can recommend a professional to clean your fuel tank if it's something you aren't able to do yourself. It's also recommended that you clean out any fuel lines before installing the new pump, as they may have accumulated contaminants from the tank or old pump. This is often easier with older vehicles that can be opened at both ends of the fuel line, and an appropriate fuel system cleaner or solvent can be used to flush the system. If you're not comfortable doing this yourself, we'd be happy to recommend a trusted service center in your area. It's also essential to replace the strainer on your fuel pump, although many modules, like ours, include a strainer. Another necessary step in replacing your fuel pump is replacing your inline fuel filters. If you fail to clean or replace your fuel tank, or if you fail to replace your strainer or inline fuel filters, your new pump warranty may be voided. Once you're ready to install your new fuel pump, lower it carefully into the port. Replace the cover and begin threading the fasteners by hand or securing your retaining ring. Remove the shop towel or rag from the hose fitting and torque them in a star pattern to manufacturer specifications. Now push the fitting down into its port. Reinstall the safety clip. Snake the wiring harness back through the top cover. Reinstall the wiring harness grommet and push the plug into the fuel pump until you hear it snap into place. Reinstall the cover and press down on it to re-engage the adhesive. Use butyl tape if needed to make the seal secure. If you remove the back seat cushion, reinstall it, making sure your seat belts are visible. Reattach your negative battery cable. Close the hood. Now that your new fuel pump is installed, here are a few tips to help it last. Don't make a habit of driving with very little gas in the tank. This can burn up your fuel pump. Make sure your gas cap is on tight. This helps keep dirt out and keeps evaporative emissions low. Check your gas cap's rubber flange regularly for cracks and breaks. Always run good quality fuel. Use fuel with your vehicle's recommended octane level. Check fuel filters regularly and replace them if necessary. Regularly check fuel hoses and lines for cracks and leaks. Use a quality fuel additive occasionally to keep your fuel system clean and protect your injectors from clogging. And that's it. You'll find everything you need for this and other jobs at your local O'Reilly Auto Parts store or O'ReillyAuto.com. If you're not completely comfortable doing this yourself, we'd be happy to recommend a professional shop or certified auto repair service center in your area. And be sure to subscribe so you'll see all our new video content. We'll see you again soon.